Good morning. It's Monday, June 22nd, 2026. The best team in baseball lost a few games last week. 3 straight, and it didn't matter who they ran out there. And here's the part that should scare the rest of the league. They're still in first place by 7 games. The standings don't lie, and the box scores don't either. I'm Pete Dwyer, and this is the division line from the Baseball Nerd. 6 divisions, 30 teams, in one weekly breakdown of what the numbers actually say. Gonna talk through this one a little different than usual. The numbers are still the numbers. I just want to actually talk about what they mean instead of reading you a box score and stats. Okay, so the team that moved the most last week, and probably not in the direction that they wanted, is the Atlanta Braves. Here's what happened. The Giants came to town for a 4-game set. They took 3. The 4th game was postponed due to weather. The Braves came back, and they took 2 of 3 from Milwaukee. Game 1 was a startling surprise against Jacob Misiorowski. So they went 2 for 4 in the week, and that's the worst week any first-place team has been in a while. And here's where I want to push back on how this is going to get covered everywhere else. The takes this week are going to be Atlanta's in trouble. The Braves are slipping. It's panic time in Atlanta, right? Well, that's the feelings version. But if you look at actually what happened in the standings, and they went 2 and 4, their worst week of the year, and they still lead the NL East by 7 games. 7. After their worst week. I'm not going to call that a team in trouble. That's a team that's got so much cushion that their floor is still everybody else's ceiling. The numbers say the lead is basically safe, even when they can play their worst baseball. That is actually the opposite of panic. That's dominance that can be measured. Now, in the AL Central, that's a different story. That one did move. Cleveland went 2 and 4 also. They dropped 2 of 3 to Milwaukee and then 2 of 3 to Houston. Now they're hanging on by 1 game over the White Sox. That's a race. It's real. And we're going to keep an eye on it. Now, let's get into the wild card stats. So in the American League, Tampa Bay Rays, they're pretty firmly in charge of their wild card destiny. They're 6.5 games up. Chicago White Sox are 1.5 games up. The Toronto Blue Jays just took it. They have a half-game lead over the Athletics. Right now, in the American League, Toronto is making a push. There's somebody to watch, and you're going to want to pay attention. The Athletics, as scrappy as they may be, lost a heartbreaker on Sunday. I don't see them staying out of the race long. Going to the National League in the wild card, the Cardinals are in cruise control right now for their wild card destiny. The Philadelphia Phillies, after one of the worst starts in a long time, are very firmly in control of their wild card spot. The Padres lost on Sunday to the Rangers, and that puts the Cubs right where they want to be in that 3rd spot. Fighting only a half-game lead, but they are there. There's a lot that can happen in the wild card. We watch it every week, and we wrap it up here. So the Spark Score is something that we do at the Baseball Nerd. And for anybody new, this is my read on who the data says is trending towards something real, not just who had a hot week. Not the media darlings. Top of the board this week is James Wood of the Washington Nationals. This is his 4th week of leading the pack. He has a Spark Score of 87.6 and a weighted runs created plus score of 157. His barrel rate is 24%. The thing about James is the contact quality has been elite all year, and it's not slowing down. He's not just getting lucky. He's hitting the ball as hard as anyone in baseball, and he's finding gaps. Number 2 on the leaderboard is Nick Kurtz from the A's. His Spark Score is 85.4. His weighted runs created plus score of 167 beats James Woods, but he's on a team that's fighting for its life in the AL West. The A's are a 1.5 games back, and Kurtz is the reason that they're even in the conversation. And number 3, on the pitching side, we'll get to him in a minute, but Jacob Misiorowski's Spark Score is 95.4. Hold on to that number, because we're coming right back to it. Fade is the other side of the Spark Score. Who the data says is sliding, and why it matters. Jeff McNeil is first on the list from the A's, and this one's brutal. He's on the same roster as Nick Kurtz. McNeil's fade score is a 59.6, and the higher you go is the worse you're doing. His weighted runs created plus score of 74 and a barrel rate of 1%. That's not a slump. That's his profile. The A's are desperately trying to win games with their bats. They've got one of the best young hitters in baseball. They also have one of the least productive hitters in baseball in the same lineup. Number 2 is Cedric Mullins from Tampa Bay. His weighted runs created plus is 67. The Rays have quietly fallen behind the Yankees. Marcell Ozuna in Pittsburgh has the same story. Here's the feelings versus numbers part of this. With a guy like Ozuna or Mullins, the eye test says, veteran, he'll figure it out. He's done it before. But the numbers don't care about the track record. The barrel rates, the expected stats, they're telling you that this isn't a cold streak. This is who these guys are right now. All athletes fade. Age catches up to everybody. This is the indicator of when it's happening. Okay, so here's the one I've been waiting for. The Cy Young watch. Let's talk about Jacob Misiorowski. Everybody's seen the highlights. Everybody knows he's been good. When I run him through our model, I call it CSR, he doesn't just lead the National League. He's in a tier by himself. The gap between him and the second best pitcher in the National League is bigger than the gap between second and 10th. He's not having a great year. This is one of the best stretches this model has ever measured. There's a lot of shows out there about baseball, and this is one thing that all those shows are going to miss. CSR has been really good at this. It's picked the top 4 Cy Young finishers 6 years running. So when the model's this confident, this early, that's a signal. Now, for Cy Young, real quick, and the part that nobody's talking about. We track a thing called regression. Upside regression and downside regression. And it matters when you look at forecasting. What I mean by that is there are pitchers whose ERA is way better than what their actual stuff says it should be. And right now, there are names getting real Cy Young buzz whose numbers say they cannot keep this up. I'm not going to hand you the name. But if you're hearing somebody hyped for a Cy Young right now, and nobody's mentioned regression, go look at their ERA versus their expected ERA. That gap should tell you everything. If you've got questions, if you've got comments, let me know. I love to get into it. But this is the difference between watching the games and watching the numbers. Feelings say lock him in. Numbers say, well, let's see if it holds. Now on to one of the things that I find really exciting is the prospect of the week. This one's quick. It's easy. It's Colt Emerson of the Seattle Mariners. He's 20 years old, and he's on top of our prospect board with a SPARQ score of 63.3. The Mariners are leading the AL West by a game and a half, and their 20-year-old guy is forcing his way into the picture. Watch his name. There's a couple games that matter this week. Number 1, Cleveland and the White Sox are both in the thick of the AL Central. Watch their schedules because one game separates them, and every series swings it. Anytime Atlanta plays, just see what's happening. Losing 3 to the Giants might be the start of something. It might be a blip. The games will confirm it. That's the line. New episodes drop every Monday morning. Please like, follow, and share. Subscribe to the Baseball Nerd on Substack. Game recaps, standings, and box scores are always live at thebaseballnerd.com. This is numbers and not feelings, and we'll see you next Monday.